Okay, Ray. Just a little, try to get too verbose in this one. Just try to make it reasonably quick. You guys know I like to talk and say the same thing over and over again, which you guys need, but sometimes it's exhausting for all of us. Um, yeah. So in a nutshell, Ray, your pivot, you're trying to put your arms in the right spot by moving your pivot around. You're moving your body too much. Like you're essentially trying to take the arm and wrist assembly, and you're trying to put your pivot into the right spot, your shoulders and your hips, and then the arms are kind of essentially arms and hands are essentially glued into position relative to the pivot, which is not how it works at all. So what you're going to find is if you get your pivot where you think it's going to be, the hands are going to be out of position. And if you get your hands where you think they need to be, the pivot's going to be out of position. What you need to do is forget the pivot altogether. And what I want to see you do is start learning how to swing without much movement from the pivot at all. I just want your body to move a little bit, just have a little bit of freedom of your movement, but let your arms and hands, your hands hinge and unhinge the golf club, rotate the forearms, and your arms swing quite a bit. So right now it just looks like this. Everything's glued together. That's why it doesn't look like you have a dynamic sequence like you're throwing a ball, like you're actually swinging the club. It just looks like you're trying to place the club in certain spots. And then you kind of like rehearse it, and then you kind of walk up to the ball, and then, I'm making it look worse than it is, but that's essentially what's happening is you're trying to take your body movements and move the arms through impact without the arms actually doing the majority of the work, which that's ass backwards. The arms are doing the majority of the work, and they're being carried to certain places by the pivot, but the largest range of motion and the highest closure rates are happening as you get further out toward the end of the circle. So you need to learn what's happening on the end of the circle, which is the violent part that creates all the speed and precision, but it's also has the most active movement. So you got to get that figured out and then start to blend your pivot back in. Once your hands know what to do, and your arms know what to do, then your pivot is going to have a better roadmap in terms of how to get that arm assembly to be delivered to be located roughly toward the ball, roughly in the spot where the ball is located, so that you can kind of unleash all that energy out through the hands into the club with all that fast moving movement, equaling good impact alignments. Okay, so here's what I want to see you do. Let's forget the theory. This is what you need to start doing. You need to start working on not getting your arms completely locked, your left arm completely locked out, and so stiff arm and so glued into your pivot, arm swing relative to pivot. We want the arms to be working independently of the pivot. So you remember the wave, right? The wave looks something like this, right? Here's a lot of times I'll just, in the afternoon when I'm going for a walk to loosen up my back, a lot of times just working on the spiral of the hands, then maybe add a little arms to it. So now the arms are moving up and down as I spiral the hands. So there would be impact right there. Change the direction, impact. So we need to start loosening all that stuff up and get that stuff moving so you're actually swinging the golf club as opposed to placing the golf club. You're essentially playing what we call connect the dots with the swing. Connect the dots is never going to work because you'll think as you figure out where the dots are that you'll be able to like fluidly put them back together. I think you have a little bit of that misunderstanding, which that's a little true, but it's not that true. What you need to start doing is you need to start create more freedom of movement of the arms and the hands in relation to what the shoulders and the hips are doing. So what I want to see you do is this, right? So you can see how I'm moving this V motion. You see how bent my left arm is? Yours is so locked out that even if you feel like this, it's probably going to be relatively straight. But I want you to feel really soft at the elbows. I want you to see a bend, obviously a bend at the right elbow, but even a little bend at the left elbow. I want to see a lot of wrist cocking, and I want to see the arms. You can see how I'm just moving the shoulders a little bit, like I'm just doing a little bit of shoulder movement, not doing much hip movement. I'm just trying to get the arms, just liven up the arms and the wrist alignments, right? So here's kind of the V motion. This is what's happening with the swing. And then you can kind of start to put just a little bit more belly button movement. The belly's going to move to the right and to the left a little bit. That'll give the shoulders a little bit of a bigger range of motion. But you're essentially, see how much my arms and hands are moving, but my pivot is just kind of supporting that right now. It's not driving the whole thing. As you get better and better, the pivot will start to drive that into the front end, at the front end of the sequence. We'll start to drive that to not only locate the wrist alignments at the bottom to create different types of shots, but also it sets the chain action off so that you ultimately, it's a force multiplier, so you can generate more speed doing that. But for right now, we're just not going to worry about that. We're just going to do this. I want you to essentially move your pivot as little as you can and your arms and hands as much as you can. So I want you to start hitting balls essentially where you're going like this, where you're just doing this with your arms. A lot of, see how little, my shoulders are moving a little bit, but my hips aren't moving that much, right? I want to see you do this thing right here, right? Set up. Now the other thing I want you to do, this is a little bit more specific to putting the hands and arms back together with the pivot, is right now, the way your hands and arms come into the ball and the shaft in relation to the pivot looks like this, right? So this is kind of what you look like coming into P6. So the club head's too far out like that, and then it starts to go down to the ball. But the club head gets thrown out past the hands too soon. So we obviously need the club head to be going this way, to be going down like that. And then it starts to rotate into the ball. But we also need you to do it with your right shoulder more down. So instead of you turning your pivot a lot like this, what I want you to feel is I want you to feel like you set up and then put your chest down to the right. So from the face-on view, it would look kind of like this. Chest down to the right. And then you're going to have the club at address, and but this is not backswing practice. We're going downswing in reverse. So I'm not trying to give you a good backswing here. This is all about trying to reverse engineer from impact backwards. So you're going to set up, put your chest down like that. Eyes can kind of go with the shoulders. I don't want your head too much this way, but I want your eyes relatively perpendicular to your spine. And then have the hands like that right there. And so pull the hands back and then go through again like that. Right? So, and the right shoulder is going down. As I set up this way and I move the right shoulder a little bit more down coming to impact, you're going to feel the hips maybe shift just a little bit left. But essentially from the face-on view, it's going to look like this. Right shoulder down back, hands go like that, and into the ball. Like this. And you can see there's a lot of arm movement, but not much pivot movement. I mean, my pivot's doing this, right? But my arms are doing this, right? Like that. So much hands and arms right there. Just like that. Now, it'll probably help you when you're doing this, just because you're going to see that the low point maybe wants to go a little bit to the right. For the purposes of the drill, maybe the ball goes middle stance, a little back in the middle of the stance. But just like this, down the line view, hands right here. See how the club head's going to be like this? It's not going to be out like that. And we're going to be moving our hands and arms very independent this way. And my low point is coming out now because of my chest position and my right shoulder down. The low point's a little bit to the right of the middle of my stance. So that's kind of where you'll put the ball. Maybe choke up a little bit. And then you're going to, again, we're not making a backswing. We're not learning that. We're reverse engineering the downswing. Go ahead and get the club head cocked like that and then down this way. So you basically pull the ball up, get your chest set, go like this, hit the ball, pull the ball up, chest down like that, right? Pull the ball up, chest and down to the right, there's right like that. Then maybe make a few practice swings back and forth like this. So this is what's happening. And the arms are swinging through, and the arms are swinging past the center of your stomach, right? Impact is just to the right side of the torso slightly, but they're being slung past it. And a good thing for you is to also just kind of sit there, and before you start doing that drill, just feeling like the arms are doing a ton, really swinging the club. The whole idea is to try to inject some idea of what the sequence that's actually happening in the downswing, or in the entire golf swing, but primarily the downswing. Get some flow so that you have all the segments, the range of motion of all the segments, more correct in relation to each other. Right now you have a big range of motion toward the center, which is you have a big pivot movements, but very little arm movements. So it always looks like you're just trying to place the arms in a certain spot. It'd be kind of like if you're going to throw a ball and you were like this, and then you went like this, and you're going to throw it like this, and then like this, like rather than just throwing the thing, right? So we are throwing the golf club. So you just want to feel so whippy and so armsy, even if it feels like your left arm's breaking down a lot. You'll feel essentially like you're wrapping around your neck. So this is literally the opposite of what you were freelancing on the other day, where you were like this and trying to go for width, and it's like, what are you doing, man? I mean, it's like I've never even told you need width. and I saw you had this thing and you were trying to like get the arms way, way away from your body because you'd heard something about width on the forum, and you were trying to place that with your pivot, and it looks awkward and disjointed. I mean, you know enough about the golf swing. You look at that and go, that doesn't look quite right, and it doesn't look quite right because you have way too much of one thing and not enough of the other thing. Obviously, if the arms are moving a lot and the arms are moving a lot faster, and the closure rates are rapid, if the club head's moving 85, 90 miles an hour, hands are moving 20 miles an hour, hips are moving 7 miles an hour, or shoulders moving 7 miles an hour, hips moving 3 or 4 miles an hour. Like, these outside parts are closing on those inside parts really quickly, right? So the idea of the good golf swing is you basically, as you start down, you get a little bit ahead of it, and then the arms and hands start trying to catch up pretty quickly, and then they're going to whip past the body. This is how you make a golf swing looks smooth and fluid, is when you let the hands you swing the hands and arms freely so that they're doing what they want to do. And then you slowly start to blend your pivot in to support that fast moving motion of the outside part. So it looks kind of like this instead of this or this. What it looks like is whoosh, like that, right? So I've even given you some sound effects there. Just the idea of you're just swinging your arms really freely, and my body, there's no hiccups in my body. I'm not stalling. I'm not spinning and stopping. I'm not like stalled at the beginning and then try to catch up. I'm just taking my pelvis, moving it from my right leg to my left leg, just kind of rocking my pelvis back and forth to support my hands and arms swinging very quickly through the ball. So once you start blending it in, it just starts looking like whoosh, just like that. So you can see how much my hands and arms are moving, and my pivot is just going to kind of blend in behind it. And even though it's true that from P3 down to P5 that the pivot has basically started to lead everything in that chain action, but you don't know how to lead properly with the pivot until you get the arms moving with the right range of motion in relation to the pivot. So you have to teach the hands and the arms first, right? So what you're trying to do is get this nice flow of the arms. So a lot of arms, a lot of wrists, elbows will feel like they're broken down. I guarantee you that your hands will feel like they're 3 inches from your neck at the top of your backswing. You'll feel a little bit unturned with your backswing. It's fine. You'll feel like you haven't turned your hips much at all. You'll feel like your shoulders have turned no more than 45 degrees. And then you're just gonna try to sling your arms past your pivot, right? And you can see how if I start with this, lots of hands and arms, and then I start slowly moving my pelvis and my chest a little bit more, it starts to look like everything fits together. It just looks like I just have this nice swinging action, right? It doesn't look like these parts are glued to these parts. It doesn't look like that in a golf swing. It doesn't look like that when you throw a ball, right? So it's got to be the same. You'll feel like, so the moral of the story is you're going to feel like you're wrapping your hands around your neck and then slinging your hands and arms past your chest. Wrap them around your neck, sling them past your chest. And then the specific drill to get you not looking like this, right shoulder high, club head out, right shoulder down, club head underneath, set up like this, put the ball back in the stance, go right here, and then start making that bigger. Right? And then you'll start to look a little bit more like we're supposed to have it look, which is more like that, right? Not like this. Because right now, if you dump your shoulder, you can see what the problem is going to be, is that, relatively speaking, nothing's changed from the pivot to the arms. So the arms are getting in the wrong spot. And you go, well, let me fix the arms, and the shoulders are in the wrong spot. You see what I'm saying? They're glued together. You've got to get the arms and hands working independent of the rest of the parts. So anyway, I'm out of breath. I talk so fast. That was a workout for me, just to get you in a better place. And you're welcome. See ya.